Hey, Satanico here once again for God Loves Comics and another unboxing video of some strange and wondrous packages and comics inside. Here's one of the packages, blah blah blah. Here's another, this little kind of plastic envelope or whatever. And then got this chunky square boxes, which I will open first. And I've done a little bit of surgery on the tape on some of these boxes in advance, knowing full well how much difficulty I've had in the past getting these things out. Okay, this one has all of this fat kind of packing material, which is fine. And then it's in a little block of bubble wrap. Okay, so it's easily packaged, easily accessible, but well packaged. Pretty safe to package these because these are actually booklets. And also, he sent this media mail, so it was only $3. Now let's see if I can get the tape off. Okay, how are these going to look? Wow, they're a little smaller than I thought, even though I can see the proportions, the measurements, but these are really tiny and actually pretty cool and pretty cute. What we're looking at are these tiny little Conan, Windsor-Smith Conan books that reprint all in full color. In this case, Volume 1 reprints the first 3 Barry Windsor-Smith, Roy Thomas Conan in this very tiny format that once sold for $1.95. These are Ace paperbacks with a special preface by Stan Lee. And there you see the back cover as well. And pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'd seen these a few times now since I've been looking for Conan stuff in the past few months or several months, and I hadn't known that they had existed prior to this. And actually, these are interesting. I wish I could find I wish I had it on hand at least, my Empire Strikes Back, Al Williamson, Archie Goodwin, Carlos Garzon adaptation for The Empire Strikes Back that's actually in a trade paperback format, because it seems a little bit bigger than this. It's certainly thicker, but it almost seems like it's just a little bit different proportions, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I have volume number 1, and then there's volume number 2, and these exactly replicate the covers of the original comics, except they've added this all in full color, just probably because they don't want anyone to assume that these are, just novels with nothing but text, and actually entice them to open it. And then there's number 3, cover I always liked, and number 4 right there, also a pretty cool cover. And the somewhat interesting anecdote about these is that I saw these online on eBay, and I just watched them, and I followed it. It was these 4 for $16. So the auction ended, no one bidded on it, and I'd forgotten about it, and it ended. And so I contacted the seller, and I said, I'd forgotten that the auction was ending, and I would have bid on them. But since you have them and no one bid on them, would you consider $12, and then it's $4 shipping, so it'll still come out to $16 for me? And he said, sure, that sounds good. So I said, if you just put them back up for a buy it now for $12, I'll buy them immediately, and done deal. So he gets back to me, and he puts them up there, and for $12, but he puts it as a 3-day auction. So I'm like, Well, okay. I mean, maybe I think eBay was not charging at that time for, I think they had another special where they're not even charging anything extra for buy it now. So I think you could list 100 or something. But I don't know. It may be different for everyone else. But so anyway, he goes and does that, and of course, I went ahead and bid on it. I put 1201 on it, and of course someone comes along and bids. Of course, no one bid on it initially in the first auction run, but of course someone comes along and bids. So I ended up having to pay $16.50 because one bidder bid $16, and I ended up having to pay $16.50 after. Originally, it was listed at 16. It's not a big difference, and then he had agreed for 12, but because he put it as auction, that's the deal that it was, but not a big deal. What I'm going to do is, after I open these other two boxes, as long as I don't forget, I'm actually going to look at this issue, and let's look inside and just see how they laid it out compared to the actual comic, because it's so difficult to make the text still legible. I mean, certainly the actual comic does not have this, just a single page with these two narrow panels. So they've had a trouble, sort of laying it out. They have to really rearrange it. And I noticed that that's something that they had to do, of course, in the trade paperback for Empire Strikes Back, and it's certainly something they would have to do in these. And so I'm just going to take a glance at the actual comic and then compare it to this. It's got a little slice or something, yeah. That doesn't even seem like a printer crease. It seems like a kind of a little slice. But this is not really a great format for comics. I mean, it's, of course not. It's okay. I mean, you could stick it in your back pocket if you're a kid. But because it's square bound, certainly if you're a collector, you're very hesitant to really crack this open in a way that you can read it and create a huge crease here. These are actually in pretty nice condition. I feel a tiny little bump or crease back here, and I think some are in a little bit better condition than others. Like I think number 1 has some creasing a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit along the cover. It doesn't really have it on the spine, but obviously if you're trying to read these, you really have to kind of crack them open. Obviously the artwork is significantly smaller than it would normally be printed up even in just a pamphlet sized comic, and it has to be rearranged as well. So they're not ideal for comics. They're not the ideal format by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought they were actually pretty cool to get, and I do like them, looking at them right here. So let's look at what else I have. Let's open this package really quickly. These are 3 completely disparate packages in the sense that there's no running theme. These are not of the same title. They're not Conan, but they're all kind of impulse buys. And this is just sandwiched between, some boarding, which is fine by me. Let's see if he committed the egregious sin of taping the bag down to the board, as I always complain about, and making it extremely difficult. But I don't think he did. No, he didn't. Nice. Interesting, though. If you get to see this box, the cardboard they put, Donut Coffee Shop. So that works fine. And this is actually, I think, a 90s comic, and I knew this existed. I wasn't reading comics at the time this came out, and I've never seen it actually. I think I've seen some of the sketches, some of the original art, some of the maybe some of the pages, I'm sure, at some point. But it's just a random copy, book 1 ordeal of Batman the Cult. And this I purchased solely because of Bernie Wrightson, even though Jim Starlin writing is pretty interesting. I heard that Jim Starlin had, I heard him talking where he had hurt himself in some way. And so he was no longer, I mean, he's able to still draw to some extent, but he's not able to like slave over pages the way you need to crank out comics. So he's primarily a writer, including writing some novels and things these days. But so this is interesting because obviously Starlin, Wrightson were massive stars in the late 70s and 80s, and both in terms of their artwork primarily. And so now you have Starlin writing and drawing. I was pretty interested to see some of Bernie Wrightson's work on Batman, and I'm surprised this doesn't get a lot more press because, or a lot more coverage, because it is absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful work from Bernie Wrightson, because it's still, you know, it looks like Batman. It's very iconic, and yet it's still unique, you know, uniquely Wrightson in a way. And just the emotional expressionism and his details and, you know, his just superior draftsmanship. It's kind of amazing that this doesn't, actually looks a little bit like Don Newton to me, the other, you know, another great Batman artist who I've mentioned several times before. But it's kind of amazing that this didn't get a lot more press. I don't know how the story is, but artistically beautiful. There's some TV panels of a guy talking, which kind of reminds you a lot of some scenes from Frank Miller's version of The Dark Knight Returns. Not his version, it's just The Dark Knight Returns. But yeah, really nice art, nicely tastefully colored on nice paper. It's not crazily glossy. It has a really nice texture. Yeah, really nice art. And I picked this up just kind of on a whim. I think I was probably going to buy some other things from, I was hoping to maybe find one or two other cheap things from this dealer, because you don't usually want to just buy one small comic, but and pay shipping just for that. But I guess I didn't find anything else. This only cost $3, and then shipping was $3, and that's fine. That's not bad. What does this sell for normally, or what did it once sell for? Okay, well, not the best deal, because it was only $3.50 retail in the first place. And I'm sure this is something that you probably pick up in back issue bins relatively cheaply. I don't think there's a huge demand for it, which is unfortunate, again, because the Bernie Wrightson art is beautiful. Really beautiful. So at the very least, I'll scan some of these pages and pop them up on the Godlovescomics Facebook page, which will be totally worth just to have it for that. Even though I'm sure I can find it online just as easily, but it's really nice to have the actual print on hand. And this last box, I've already popped it right open. It was in a Gemini mailer. It was a really professional packing job where he had taped it up really snugly, but it was easy to slice open. And then he's put the 3 packages, or the 3 comics, in a larger bag together, not taped down all over the place to the Gemini mailer. This is from somebody called JS Comics. And whether that's an actual brick and mortar comic store, I don't think so. I think it's just one of the seemingly millions of eBay comic stores that call themselves by some kind of comics name. Oh, and he's also added, he just kind of sandwiched them between these 2 backing boards, which is nice. I can use those. And these are, ooh, really nice. Very, very nice. Okay, this one's, no, they actually all look quite nice. These are Teen Titans. The original Teen Titans from 1968, I believe. And I've seen these covers multiple times online. I've got a few in not so good condition. And this one's not in such good condition. It has actually pretty big crease there. It has a lot of wear. You know, kind of, not even kind of typical spine wear. It almost looks like some discoloration, you know, just some scuffing. but actually looks quite nice in the bag. And this is a really cool cover by Nick Cardy. That's all three of these covers are by Nick Cardy, of course, and the interior art is by Cardy as well. I've seen some pages of this story online. I think I've even posted a few online. And it's a really pretty cool concept. The artwork inside is amazing. Maybe I'll crack that open in a second. But I copied the synopsis from my comic shop. And it says, okay, it's written by Bob Haney. The art and cover are by Nick Cardy. After Tiny Tom Ratchet, which is like Bob Cratchit, or I think it's Tiny, discovers that his father's employer, Mr. Scrounge, is letting criminals use the junkyard for illicit activity, he contacts the Teen Titans, who, noting the situation's parallels to Charles Dickens' classic tale, haunt Scrounge as the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. So that's a really clever take, at least plot-wise, on the Charles Dickens tale, and I think it has beautiful art, really cool cover, and as I said, crack that open in a minute, and this cost $5, which is actually a really good deal. And I think it's probably, I don't know, it's probably, I think, a 4.5. I think it was listed as a 4.5. But, let's see, yes, 4.5, $5.50. That's fine. And then the next one is one that I really have wanted for quite a while. Just because I've seen this cover multiple times, the Mad Mod. It's just such a cool cover. Just a cool technique. The composition, the actual illustration, the concept of it, the name, the Mad Mod. It's obviously intended, back in the groovy 60s when, the mod period was really striking, particularly in Britain, and you see sort of all the emblems of British, I guess London Bridge, and obviously Big Ben back here, the Thames, I assume, and just a really cool cover. This is listed as a 5.0, but actually, whereas the prior one, 13, was a 4.5 and had a lot of scuffing, this has just a couple of spine ticks. Okay, I see. There's a problem there. And because I was going to say, this actually looks quite a lot better than a 5.0. It looks like maybe a 6.5, maybe more. But then I see right here that I don't recall this being listed, but maybe I didn't read the listing closely enough. But it looks like it has a pop staple of all things, because the rest of the spine looks fantastic and doesn't even have very many flaws at all, at least from the bag perspective. But it definitely looks like it has a pop staple. That's unfortunate, but a great cover, fantastic cover. I love these Nick Cardy covers, both for Aquaman and Teen Titans, and of course he did a lot of, which is kind of surprising because the Aquaman and Teen Titans have a certain style that is kind of very obviously Cardy, but they sort of have a unified style, even when the concepts are completely different from one issue to the next. But he also did a lot of the the horror line for DC, and those are really, really nice as well. And he uses a little bit of a different style. I mean, it's not instantly recognizable as Cardy as much as Teen Titans and Aquaman are. And then this is Teen Titans number 34, a later issue, incredible Cardy cover again. Just pretty cool. Wonder Girl, she's turned into a witch, the demon of Dog Island. Just a really cool cover, and with a little kind of almost Scooby-Doo style horror theme. It's nothing particularly scary going on here. But this, the prior one, this cost $6. This one costs $5.50. This one cost $23. All of these were separate auctions. They weren't obviously in a lot. And the reason this one cost so much, which I was a little bit hesitant, because this one is just a Nick Cardy cover, and the interior art is by, who is that by? This is 34. Let me look it up really quickly. I don't remember. I think the story again is by Bob Haney, And the interior art is by someone who doesn't, yeah. Well, okay, the art is by George Tuska and Nick Cardy. George Tuska's art, you know, I mean, he's an artist from the Golden Age, and he did some kind of cool stuff in the Golden Age. But I mean, he's best known to mainstream comics fans from the Bronze Age, just doing stuff for the Champions, primarily the Champions, and a lot of filler stuff. Iron Man as well. Not always the most exciting artists, so I wasn't super psyched about the interiors being there. But it's by Nick Cardy as well, so I don't know if Nick Cardy drew some pages or if he just inked George Tuska. But anyway, the reason this was so expensive, so much more so than the other two, which in fact I found a little bit more desirable, is because this is an 8.5. At least that's how he has it graded, with white pages. So that's actually really nice. And that's the entire haul. So I'm just going to take a quick look at this to see what these white pages actually look like. And to also see what the interior art looks like. It's got a little bit of a crease on the back. Here is the interior. You see, looks like is that a Neil Adams cover? That advertisement looks like it, but I'm not absolutely positive. But yeah, so the art inside is nice. I guess these are white pages. They almost look a little bit off white to me. I don't know if I would say they were bright white. In fact, I seriously doubt. I mean, I think the other two are listed as off-white, and I seriously doubt that they are any different than this. Anyway, the actual art inside is actually quite nice. It's a pretty cool scene. I can see the faces, though, are like these guys' faces are very much George Tuska. But then, like the girls, that looks a lot more Nick Cardy to me. That, again, that face is very George Tuska. And I didn't see the credits. So I just want to see if they listed this as inked by Cardy and laid out by Tuska or what. But I can't really, I don't really see the credits where you normally see them. And I don't see them in the back either, so. And there's some more interiors. Actually, interior art is quite nice. Cover feels really nice. It's obviously got some spine ticks along the side. Staple is a little bit out of place as well. It's not really in the corner where you'd expect it. But a nice copy. Very nice copy. But I would say this is definitely my favorite cover. And let's take a look at the interior of this one as well. And then take one quick look at Conan and we'll call it a day. Okay, the back cover is definitely soiled, you know, and nothing that you can feel. It's just almost like, it's almost like newsprint has just kind of been ingrained into it over time, and so it looks kind of dirty, but also has kind of a cool patina as well. I mean, maybe because this advertisement for postage stamp trains is actually pretty cool. And the cover feels nice and glossy. And Love this art. Love the whole kind of concept. I don't know if I would have liked it that much as a kid. I wanted my comics to be really serious, and I probably wouldn't have gotten the whole Dickens. Well, I'm sure everyone knows A Christmas Carol, so I guess I would have. But and a lot of advertisements for stamps in this one for some reason. And kind of a funny little thing here, don't disturb editorial department, apparently of Nick Cardy desperately trying to finish pages. Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. Look at these pages. And don't see any names on the letters page that I recognize. Always kind of weird and breaks the mood just a little bit when they do these, when they bisect these pages where they have half a page of art and half a page of advertisement, but not as egregious as what I've seen in some of the early Conan, Barry Windsor-Smiths, where they really did some stupid layouts with the advertisements. I think even leaving just like a tiny strip for Smith to work from at the top on one page. Anyway, really cool stuff. I like this. I love this. I love this interior artwork. I like the concept. Ebenezer scrounge prop you can see right there, and there we have the credits. Script by Bob Haney and artwork by Nick Cardy. And then you also have this advertisement, The Drama and the Power. Tomahawk, which a lot of the covers were done by Neil Adams, and there's Aquaman. Beautiful covers. I'd be very excited to buy these comics. They look great in black and white too. So looking at these in black and white makes me really want to track these down and actually buy them because the covers are really, really nice. I mean, this Aquaman cover is fantastic, and then the perspective on this is actually really cool too. And the Tomahawk series had a lot of great covers. Anyway, that's a beautiful copy. Even though it's got this just a little bit of discoloration, scuffing, or whatever, the cover still feels actually really nice and glossy. This doesn't feel rough or, you know, it feels perfectly fine. So, the last order of business was to take a quick look at this, which is Conan number 8. There you can see the size difference. Significant, to say the least. Very significant. So, and this copy, I believe I got from my comic shop when I was still foolish enough to buy something from them instead of eBay, which I can almost always find something cheaper. And I like my comic shop. And this was listed as a 7.0. Beautiful copy, actually. It looks a lot better in 7.0. I think the great thing about my comic shop, which I mentioned before, is generally because they're a big business, and they certainly doesn't behoove them to have to deal with a lot of returns and all of the hassle of that, and taking things back, reshipping things, you know, refunding money and everything else, that they're going to undergrade a little bit. So this actually, just at a glance, certainly seems like it could be an 8.0, but it's listed as a 7, and that's fine by me. And actually, the pages in this look whiter to me than in the white page Teen Titans that I got. Look at the art in this too. Beautiful. I mean, now he had some kind of awkward faces. That's not necessarily the best example of an awkward face, but still looks a little bit unusual. And but look at the Gila monster here. Awesome. So let's see really quickly, because I'm already dragging on so long for such a for so few boxes. Let's see if I can find the corresponding pages in this. This is page 6. So if this even starts at 8, let's see. No, it doesn't. With volume 3 has throws a little bit of a wrench in my plans. Oh, okay, I think I found it. I stumbled across it by accident. Okay, I don't know what issue this starts with. Maybe it starts with issue 7. Yeah, it does. So issue 8, the issue that's actually on the cover, is in the interior, further into the interior, and actually page 68 and 69, trying not to destroy the, crease this up too much. But these are actually, as I said, in very nice shape. They're very nice, tight binding. But okay, you can see again that same Gila monster. I also definitely don't want to bend this likely 7 8.0. And page 6. Okay, so that's the page. And as you see, you're trying to cram a page of this size into a book significantly smaller. And so here you see one page. These top 2 panels take up 1 page. And then the next page, you get 3 panels. So these 3 center panels. So basically you're getting 3 pages in the small trade paperback equal 1 page here. And obviously it's always kind of weird. So you have to put 1 panel here, cut it out, and leave all this white space. These 2 here, and then 2 more at the bottom to take up another page. That's the difference. This is nice white paper, of course, and so it actually shines without being so glossy that it loses some of the mystery that we've talked about in terms of the digital reproductions, and certainly when they've recolored Conan in subsequent reprints, when they've done a little bit of recoloring and retouching, and they've completely screwed up some of the original intent. But anyway, I like these books. They're really cool. I love this issue of Conan. The artwork, I love the cover, and the artwork and the interior artwork is exquisite. See if I can find one more thing. Well, here's what I was talking about when I was talking about bisecting the pages with ads. This isn't the most egregious example, but I mean, he's been asked to essentially tell the story across the top of the page, and of course over 2 pages you've got this ad. But then I don't care, ads, newsprint, everything else, the artwork is gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. For this time period, I mean, Barry Windsor-Smith must have really stood out, because even though there were plenty of good artists at that time, but his stuff definitely has a unique flair. As I said, sometimes a little off, like there, her face looks like a blow-up doll. It's okay if you have this this chubby guy's face look kind of hilarious and funny, but she looks a little off. Even sometimes you see the eyes almost look a little cross-eyed in characters, and often Conan's face is just a little bit distorted. But That's okay. He had a few bumpy moments because he was dealing with all of these deadlines, and he was really ambitious in his layouts and the artwork that he was trying to pull off. And but by and large, he succeeded far more than he failed. There's another thing: Spider-Man original unpublished art portfolios. Wow, what is that? Is that original unpublished art portfolios? Whatever, I'm sure that's pretty valuable now. A complete reprint of Spidey #1, complete reprint of Daredevil #1. Interesting. So that's the haul, the comics haul. You get these 4 cool little trade paperbacks that reprint 3 Conan comics each, all Barry Windsor-Smith art, and 3 Teen Titans, and Batman the Cult. So we're talking Nick Cardy, we're talking Barry Windsor-Smith, we're talking Bernie Wrightson, and some George Tuska. Perfectly fine. So that's it for this haul, and thanks very much for watching, and feel free to leave a comment. Goodbye.